People, what up? What's good? We're back. What, like 2, 3 days later with another balance patch. Y'all know what we do. We look at the changes, we talk about them. Y'all grab a snack for this one because I'm gonna be yapping today. But before we even get into it, y'all be sure also to like, subscribe, man. We doing the tournament at 2K subs. Make sure y'all join the Discord. Y'all will hear more about that, y'all. But we have a huge patch today, man. So I mean, let's get straight into it, right? We got Loki, Leech, Dr. Octopus, the Widow's Kiss from White Widow. We got Blob, War Machine, and last but not least, we got Apocalypse. Before we even get into the cards, though, you guys, what this feels like to me, and I'm not even necessarily sure if this is a bad thing, but it feels like they're dealing with the symptoms of the issue rather than the root cause of the issue. What is the root cause? Arishem is the root cause. And with that said, let's get straight into it, bro. So Loki, man. So they changed him, right? I wouldn't call this a buff or a nerf. They changed him. Okay, so old cost was 4, his new cost is 3. Completely changed his ability. On reveal, replace your deck with your opponent's starting deck. Give those cards -1 cost and draw a card. So his ability does something out kind of similar but completely different, right? So if we take a look at this, y'all, we can see that first of all his synergy with the collector is back, right? Obviously he loses synergy with cards like Coulson. Still got synergy with Quinjet, still got synergy with Mockingbird, right? But not Coulson, Nick Fury, Sentinel, any one of those cards where you're adding cards to new cards to your hand. He lost synergy with that. Obviously this also affects Arishem, right? Loki, the Loki change, Dr. Octopus, Leech, Blob, that's all because of Arishem. And so I'm not necessarily mad at this change, you guys. Obviously Loki, before Arishem, I felt like Loki was always annoying to fight. I felt like he was in a good spot though before that. It's just that, after that, obviously a turn 1 Quinjet into like a turn 2 Loki, like you were, that's just not fair. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, or turn 3 Loki, that's just not fair, right? So I mean, let's read what they got to say, and then I'll give you guys a couple more of my thoughts about it. It took a few shots to land Loki in the right spot, but the goal had been accomplished. However, as time passed, our preference for using Loki as a build around for decks that generate extra cards has shifted. It's proven too stifling to cards like Snowguard and Agent Coulson, who can't really stand on their own anywhere, as well as future designs we've worked on internally. Given Loki's recent resurgence alongside Arishem, it felt like the right time to try capturing that fantasy without diminishing those other cards. We don't want to banish Loki from Asgard with this change, so we're airing stronger to avoid that. If we need to come back for a buff or a nerf, or this rework doesn't succeed for other reasons, we'll consider something else. What do y'all think about this, man? Obviously I can't think of all the new ways that you're going to be able to use Loki off the top of your head, but it definitely doesn't seem as strong as he was before, but it's kind of, I think it's a lot more interesting of a card right now. Obviously I thought he was okay, like these stats that y'all can see on the screen right now, I thought this was okay before Arishem came out, but obviously if they're not going to change Arishem, like I said, if they're not going to deal with the root cause of the problem, then they have to deal with all the symptoms. In a 3/5 Loki, sometimes that you would be able to play on turn 2, that's just not fair at the end of the day, right? So y'all let me know what y'all think, bro, because we on to the next card. And Leech, another symptom. New stats: 4 cost, 4 power. On reveal, remove the text from 6 cost cards in your opponent's hand. Like, you guys, I feel like I have literally the exact same analysis for Loki, Dr. Octopus, Leech, and Blob. Obviously they were all annoying to face, but before Arishem came out, I feel like they were balanced, right? Let's read what they had to say. I'll talk about it a little bit more. Leech in particular, this has been a tricky card for us to land where we wanted. The last change proved we had enough overlap from other effects to avoid leaning on Leech as an all-purpose answer. However, the function has primarily been a tool for letting decks brute force their strongest stuff through defenses rather than answering otherwise overpowering strategies. We're going to try narrowing it further and targeting a more specific scope of threats. We're also going to aim weak in case we're underestimating the effect to give most honest folk a break from getting leeched. Yeah, I mean, everybody's getting leeched this patch. Everybody's getting Loki this patch. Everybody was getting Dr. Octopus. Everybody was getting blobbed early, right? I don't know if this is a good or bad. This seems like a pretty bad change. Obviously, Leech is still annoying, but not nearly the same as he was. 6 cost cards. That's a very small set of cards, right? So it's not even like it affects unrevealed cards for the most part, other than Odin, Apocalypse not even unrevealed, like Odin, Magneto, Alioth, stuff like that. But I like it because it like I'm saying, it's a symptom of Arsham. You change Leech to this, you no longer have the problems that Arsham created, but now Leech is struggling because of that, right? I feel like that, dealing with these cards is cool, it's fine, but now you're just creating new problems for these cards themselves. Like now they're a lot worse. Maybe Loki isn't a lot worse, but Leech, obviously Dr. Octopus is going to be much worse. We're going to be talking about him in a minute. And so is Blob. And it's not even like their old abilities and their old stats were the issue. This is great for the game right now because it brings back more variety to the game, right? You deal with all the cards that took advantage of Arsham, exploited the game in that way and made the game unfun to play. But again, it's just like, why not just deal with the card, right? There's and here's the way they could have dealt with the card, right? Make him start in your hand, you know what I mean? Limit the extra energy to like maybe turn 4, 5, and 6. Like there's maybe make it so that the first 6 cards in your deck are Arsham cards. Maybe the first 3, not the first 6. Like there's so many different things that you could have done, right? I don't know, y'all. I don't like this change. I like it for right now, but I don't like it in the grand scheme of things, if that makes sense. Y'all let me know what y'all think of Leech. But like I said, Loki, this is cool, this is interesting to me, but Leech I just don't like at all. Dr. Octopus I don't like at all either, right? So let's go ahead and read him. Obviously he was 5'10", pull 4 cards, fill up the opponent's location. Now he's 4'8", pull the lowest power card from your opponent's hand to this side of the location. Let me just ask y'all a question before we even talk about him. What reason is there to use Dr. Octopus over Gladiator for at this point? Right? You can do some, some cheeky stuff with like a clog deck with Debris and maybe Selene, and then Dr. Octopus force them to play a weak card to fill up the lane and stuff like that, right? But you were still able to use Dr. Octopus to clog the lane even better to begin with, right? And it's not even like it's literally the exact same. Dr. Octopus wasn't even bad, like he wasn't bad or good, like he was fine before Arsham. Now because Arsham released, this was too much to deal with, but now this is bad. Let's read, man. The good doctor has settled into a career as a niche player in the Snap metagame for quite a while until Arsham, while Arsham is enabling more aggressive Doc Ock plays. The true lesson has been that when Ock is seeing a lot of play, that can get fairly frustrating. Given we find ourselves in a spot where we have a card we kind of don't want people playing in volume, that makes it a solid candidate for a rework. Our goal here isn't specifically a nerf, but rather to continue capturing the fantasy of the card with an implementation that's more fun and will be a healthier addition to the metagame. Plus 4-8 is a great stat line for creative yeah, I mean 4-8 is a great stat line, but it's again like use Gladiator instead and throw him on the Silver Surfer deck. Right? And you can also, you know, if you trying to do some clog type stuff as well, right, you can still run Luke Cage on your Silver Surfer and Hazmat as well, right, to go alongside your, you know, your Absorbing Man. Get like another form of points like that, right, rather than going to Dr. Octopus, who costs a whole one more energy. I mean, do y'all like this new Dr. Octopus? It's definitely not, like I said, these cards are definitely not as annoying as they were, but I think that them being annoying before Arsham was okay because they were balanced, right? It's hard to you know, it's hard to come to an opinion about this, but y'all let me know what y'all think, man. I don't like it. But again, I kind of got to reiterate, I like that these changes are happening because it makes the game better, but I don't like it because of it's creating more problems, I feel like. Let's go on to the Widow's Kid stuff, or actually let's go to Blob, and then we'll go to the 3 new cards that have nothing to do with Arsham, right? So let's check Blob out, right? So they just brought him down to 13 instead of 15. We know why. Let's read. One of the winningest cards in Arsham decks has continued to be Blob. The specifics of that gameplay aren't very satisfying because Blob tends to wind up fairly closer to 617 or better without a drawback in these decks. Our goal with Blob is to encourage some meaningful deck building differences or charge a steeper price for strength, so that's not working out. Turning the knob down will weaken Blob and Arsham while leaving some strength to build around in a 12 card deck. If you're gonna use, here's the thing, you guys, if you're gonna use a 12 card deck, there's no reason to use Blob when you got cards in the game like Red Hawk. Red Hawk will be stronger than Blob. Red Hawk will be as strong as Bob after one turn, and he will be stronger than Blob after 2. Right? Blob I feel like, again, man, Blob was fine before Arsham released, annoying because of Arsham, and now, you know, he the way it looks to me, I mean, it's like no reason to use him. Just use Red Hawk, bro. Like literally just use Red Hawk, get more power. Obviously you can throw him on the Thanos deck, you know what I'm saying, and absorb the, you know, the stones and stuff like that. You're still gonna be able to do that. Probably get some Blob and Thanos out. But if you, I mean, outside of Arsham, you know, if you're gonna use a 12 card deck, use Red Hawk. Don't even think about Blob, bro. That's, you know, that's kind of my thoughts on these, you know, these 4 cards. Like I said, and I kind of keep have to reiterate this just to help you guys understand, man. These changes are good right now. I don't know if they're entirely good, right? I think you guys understand at this point. Now let's get into these 3 new cards, bro. Let's get into 3 new cards. Who we got? Widow's Kiss, Widow's Bite, Miss White Widow. So obviously they took away 1 power from, or they added 1 power to the Widow's Kiss, right, making it -3 instead of -4. It's interesting, y'all. My initial thoughts on White Widow were I thought she was gonna be mid, right before, like this was like months before she's came out, but I think we can all agree that she's like one of the best 2-cost cards, if not the best, right? Just for the simple fact that she's really a 2/2 card that clogs your opponent's lane, or a 2/6 card, right? If we look at all the, you know, the cards that are 2/4 and above, who we got? Like Cloak, who benefits both you and your opponent. Colleen Wing, who you have to run one specific way. Gambit, who benefits your opponent. Not Gambit, my bad. Maximus, who benefits your opponent. And Lizard, who has a drawback. It seems like she was stronger than all of them with no drawback. So I honestly think that, you know, this is a good change, and they can nerf her further, bro. Like you can honestly make the Widow's Kiss just not do anything, because the simple fact that you're clogging your opponent's lane is such a big deal, right? Obviously, we all know the combo Nebula, White Widow. Your opponent is hurting right now, bro. They're hurting, right? White Widow into Beast into White Widow again. White Widow and the Grandmaster into Beast into White Widow again on, on some bounce type stuff. And this is a good decision. I honestly think they could go further with it. I'm gonna go ahead and read what they have to say and then wrap up my thoughts on her. Enough time has passed for White Widow to see the breadth of this card's impact, and it's showing up more often than we aim for and in a wider variety of decks. The strength doesn't feel especially far off, so this small tweak down on the effect should help balance things out. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I'll honestly say, man, nerf her some more, bro. -2 is cool. 0 is cool. I don't even think y'all would disagree that 0 is like not okay. Just for the simple fact that you're literally taking an opportunity away from your opponent to play the game, right? Like it's better than Green Goblin. Cheaper, and it does exactly what he does, if not better, right? So that's my thoughts about White Widow. Y'all let me know if y'all agree or disagree with that, because we on the big War Machine. They just went ahead and added one more power to them. I'm gonna read this before I get my thoughts. War Machine hasn't found a consistent home, indicating there's room to add extra power. A larger contributor to the low play rate may be our revision to Professor X, without enough incentive to find a slot for War Machine. But either way, this buff carries fairly little risk. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. I feel like because lockdown decks are so weak right now, there's really no reason to use War Machine. Obviously, you can use him outside of a lockdown strategy, being, War Machine on turn 5 into Infinite on turn 6 or Giganto on turn 6. But again, if you're gonna go for something like that, you might as well use something like Shuri, Nimrod, Shuri, Red Skull, Shuri, Typhoid Mary, right? As opposed to War Machine on turn 5. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, like I said, you can also do Hope Summers War Machine, Infinite turn 5, Arnim Zola, do some cheeky stuff like that. But yeah, I just really feel like because Professor X is so weak right now, lockdown isn't really that good, especially when you consider cards like Nocturne, being able to deal with Storm, Jeff being on every single deck, move decks actually being a lot better than they used to be, and because they're gonna get buffed pretty soon, right? It's kind of hard to lock down the lanes and use War Machine to justify either locking down your lanes or your opponent locking them down. So I like this, man. Do I think that they could go even further with it? Right now they could, but they're probably gonna be looking to buff lockdown decks. If they're gonna buff War Machine to actually make it worthwhile to use them, man. And that's my thoughts on War Machine, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Because last but not least, we got Big Apocalypse went ahead and brought him back to 6-8. We know he was 6-8 a long time ago. What are my thoughts on this? It's fine. I honestly thought that discard decks won a lot when they buffed what's his face a few days ago. Why am I blanking? Moon Knight. When they buffed Moon Knight a few days ago, because obviously Moon Knight could hit Proxima, he could hit Apocalypse, right? And he disrupts your opponent. So I thought discard was getting a lot more stronger just based off that. But I mean, this is cool. Obviously Dracula, Morbius, right? I feel like you're still going to be able to take care of those two cards the same way, Rogue, Red Guardian, right? But I like making this form of discard a lot better, right? Rather than the Hela. Obviously you can run Hela and Apocalypse on the same type of deck, but I feel like the way you use Hela is a lot different, or the way you structure decks around Hela is a lot different than the way you structure them around Apocalypse. And I like that they buffed them, because I honestly like using that form of the deck better, rather than some Hela stuff, man. I'm gonna go ahead and read this, and then we gonna wrap it up, y'all. We took some power away from Apocalypse a while ago when discard had reached perhaps the peak of his all-time strength. Since then, the metagame had continued to evolve and discard has slid backwards. This won't fully reverse the trend, but it's a solid step, and we like to monitor the results before making any additional updates. I like it, y'all. This was a very interesting patch, man. Like I said, it kind of, it kind of feels like they dealt with the symptoms rather than the problems, at least for these 4 cards. I like these changes, but I don't even necessarily think that dealing with the symptoms is, a bad thing, because it's going to affect the game positively right now, right? And it's not like, they can't always just come back and make more changes. Like, this is a live service game, right? It's not like, just to put in a different analogy, it's not like you are taking pills to deal with pain rather than like fixing the problem that your body has, right? Like, it's a completely different, like the stakes are a lot lower. But this is a very interesting patch, man. Like I said, y'all let me know what y'all agree with, what y'all disagree with. Maybe tell me something that I didn't talk about, or a different perspective. And as always, man, y'all be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 2K. Almost there, y'all. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.